Continuing to read from The One and Only Bob by Katherine Applegate. Today we're beginning on page 161. Make no sudden moves. I've ridden around the grounds of the park in Julia's backpack enough to know every inch of the place. I've even chatted with many of the residents, but now everything is topsy-turvy. I keep finding myself in places I don't want to be, like the wolf exhibit. Near the entrance, a sign lies crushed to the ground. It has a picture of a gray wolf with an arrow pointing one way and another arrow with an emperor penguin on it. To my right, I see a piece of hay stuck deep in a tree trunk like a pencil in a cupcake. To my left, water gushes from a pathside ditch, a broken pipe. The boiling sky has settled into a solid blanket of gray, and the rain's quieted to a steady drizzle. Still, I smell more bad weather menacing in the distance. Tossed into a bush is a large informational display with a photo of two gray wolves. I don't see any fence or barrier or intact wall, and it dawns on me that grumpy wolves and tiny dogs might not make the best of pals, especially under these trying circumstances. Just as I start to leave, a wolf on the sign seems to move, to blink. Oh. He isn't part of the sign. He's next to the sign. It's Kimu. Hey, I say. No answer. Something tells me I should hightail it out of there. Something else is saying, make no sudden moves. I hate it when my brain disagrees with itself. I split the difference, crouching meekly, doing the whole submissive dog thing. Kimu locks his gaze on me. I try not to make direct eye contact. A lot of animals find that threatening, but his eyes are mesmerizing. Glowing amber and way too smart. He moves again. Two paws appear. Big paws. Nothing like my feeble, shrimpy feet. These paws are the size of hamburger buns. Hamburger buns with lethal claws attached. Mutt versus wolf. I wait for him to launch into his pounce. Maybe if I time my escape just right. Yeah, sure. In a battle of Chihuahua mutt versus wolf, even I wouldn't bet on the dog. Do they break your neck before they eat you? That only seems fair. My heart's doing this crazy tap dance in my chest, and I wonder if he can hear it. I sneak a peek at him. Strangely, he just keeps staring at me. Quickly, I avert my eyes. Those chilling, dangerous eyes. It's me, Bob, I say. Kimu says nothing. He's panting hard. Maybe he's disoriented, even hurt. I try to speak again. My voice seems to be hiding somewhere deep in my throat. Another try. Kimu? He blinks. Are you all right? No response. Anyone else hurt? I ask. This time he seems to hear me. I don't know. His voice is a low whisper. Can I help? I ask, really hoping the answer is no. Suzu, I can't find her. All right then, I say. I'll take a look. I poke around a bit, careful not to get too close to Kimu. A sour smell pours off him like sweat off a human. I don't see her, I say after a few minutes, but I'm sure she's fine, just a little shook up, probably, hiding somewhere. He doesn't answer. I should go. I'm looking for some friends, I say. Is there anything else I can do? He looks up at the ominous sky as if there's an answer waiting up there. I don't know, he says. I don't know. Gorilla world. I move on. I have to find my friends, have to. But where am I? I leap over another mangled signpost with bent arrows. One way to Reptileville, one way to Lion Land. I pass the mangrove swamp. A manatee pokes up her big head, draped with Spanish moss like a silly wig. Two workers in yellow raincoats trot past me. One has a bloody bandage on his cheek. I need to stop, regroup. Cool it, Bob, I tell myself. I'm panicking, not taking in the right data. I try to blot out all the horrible smells, all the awful noise. I concentrate, let my nose do the real work. A whiff of something familiar. Gorilla? It has to be gorilla. Full run now. I cut my back left paw on a shard of glass, trip, fall, hard on my nose, and cut it too. Dripping blood, I carry on. Find them. A massive old oak lies on its side at the entrance to Gorilla World. Huge tangled ropes grope into the air like frozen snakes. and just beyond where Ivan lives is nothing but devastation. Help us. The stone wall separating Gorilla World and Elephant Odyssey is gone. Pieces of both domains mingle. An elephant toy here, a gorilla nest there. Part of the indoor gorilla space has crumbled to the ground. I scan the area where Ruby and her herd like to hang out. Nothing. No gorillas either. Out of nowhere, the rain picks up, coming sideways, blinding me. The wind howls like a hurt dog. This storm isn't over, not by a long shot. I leap over a pile of cement blocks, catch my hurt foot on something sharp, yelp, and keep going. Ivan, I call. Ruby. Nothing. I get to a slight rise, leap over another overturned tree, and try to make sense of the damage. Red and blue lights cut through the rain. Police, fire engines. Good. We need all the help we can get. I take in several lungfuls of the hideous air. It's too wet, too full of conflicting odors, a mishmash of scents I can't decipher, especially with my busted nose. The wind gathers speed, pushing at me with incredible force. Feels like it'll tear my ears right off my sore noggin. I can barely stand upright. Wind like that storm wind doesn't carry scent. It obliterates it. Help, help us! It's a tiny, desperate voice. Maybe even Ruby's voice. Kudzu. I pick my way through the debris, trying to lock on the sound. It isn't easy. Please help us! Climbing over the remains of the wall, the one I was sitting on what seemed like moments ago, I find myself at the bank of the moat. Ruby, I call at the top of my lungs. Uncle Bob! The sound of my name cuts through the gloom like a shaft of sun. Ruby runs to the opposite edge of the water. She's maybe 8 feet away, but I can barely make her out in the torrential rain. You stay there, I yell, trying to be heard over the wind. I'll come to you. I follow the bank until I come to a spot where several chunks of wall have tumbled into the water. 3 careful leaps and I'm across. Ruby runs to greet me. She wraps her mud-coated trunk around my neck. Boy, oh boy, am I happy to see that sweet little elephant. You're hurt, Ruby, I ask. Is everyone all right? Ruby sniffles. Yes, but come quick. She dashes off before I can ask anything more. 5 of Ruby's aunts stand by the elephant side of the moat. Each one has her trunk plunged deep into the dark, muddy water. They look like a bunch of kids trying to find a lost toy in a swimming pool. It's almost funny, until I see what they're reaching for. A baby gorilla is in the moat. The tiny gal keeps grabbing for a trunk to hold on to, then slipping free. Her terrified screeches fill the air. It's Kudzu, Ivan's favorite. An idea. I'm going in, says Masika, one of the younger aunts. Might make things work, Akello cautions. Displace the mud. Pull her down toward the bottom. I could go in, I suggest, the words popping out before I can swallow them. It's more mud than water, Bob. Akello shakes her head. You'll get as stuck as Kudzu. I don't exactly argue the point. I've got an idea, comes a small voice. All the aunties turn to Ruby, and she looks startled to have their complete attention. A couple of us get on the other side of the moat, Ruby says. Grab trunks. We'll make like a, what do you call it? A sling, I exclaim. A hammock, like the gorillas have. I don't know, Ruby, Akello says doubtfully. Kudzu grabs for Masika's trunk with both her hands. Wait, Masika says. Think I've got her this time. Masika lifts her trunk with deliberate slowlessness, carefully trying to support the baby gorilla, but once again, Kudzu can't hold on. She lets out a despairing cry. Down she goes, lower this time, her nose and eyes just visible. Okay, Akello says with a nod to Ruby. Let's give Ruby's idea a try. Masika, Lahili, and Elodie cross over to the far side. Zaina, Ruby, and I will take this side. All 3 elephants move with surprising quickness to the spot where I crossed. They gallop back until they're facing us. It's strange to see them on the other side of the moat. With the wall destroyed, they're technically in Ivan and Kinyani's domain. Move down a bit, Akello instructs. That way. She motions with her head. We want to scoop her out, not push her down. 3 on one side, 3 on the other side. The elephants reach out for each other's trunks, creating a kind of cradle. Okay now, says Akello. Lower carefully. Down they go into the muddy water. Ruby nearly loses her footing, so I grab her tail with my teeth. It doesn't really help, and she yells, "Ouch!" But my heart's in the right place. Kudzu thrashes her tiny arms. "Stay calm," I call. Easy for me to say. She looks over at me, and I'll never forget the fear in her dark eyes. Then she vanishes below the surface. Team Elephant. "Hurry!" Ruby cries. The elephants bend lower, moving like a giant elephant shovel. "Where is she?" Masika asks. "Lower," says Akello. "Lower, sisters." "There," Ruby yells. "No, wait, there." "Up," Akello commands, and the interlocked trunks rise from the muddy water to reveal a tiny, trembling baby gorilla sitting in their makeshift sling. "Kudzu," says Akello. "Stay calm, baby. We're going to toss you to safety, okay?" Kudzu gives a little nod. "On my count," says Akello. "Start swinging. 1, 2, 3. Up and over go the trunks, and up and over goes Kudzu. She lands with a little plop on the gorilla side of the moat, right next to Masika's rear legs. "Good work, everyone," said Akello, "and good thinking, Ruby." "Thanks, elephants," says Kudzu, wiping mud from her eyes. "That was fun. Can we do it again?" Akello takes a deep breath. "Maybe later, sweetheart." Quickly, I make my way back over the moat. "Kudzu," I say, "follow me. Let's go find your 8 peeps." "Can I go with Bob?" Ruby asks Akello. Akello touches Ruby's back with her trunk. "I'd much rather have you stay here, dear. And it's may I." "But Uncle Ivan," Ruby pleads. "I'll keep an eye on her," I tell Akello. "I'm going," Ruby says in her most determined voice. "Maybe I can help. I helped just now." Akello hesitates, but finally gives a slow nod. Probably she figures there's no arguing with Ruby. She's right on that one. Ruby crosses the moat and joins Kudzu and me. "Be careful," Akello warns. "There's more of this storm coming." "I got her, Akello," I say. "You better have her," she warns. "I think I flew, Bob," said Kudzu as we weave our way through the wasteland that was Gorilla World. "Yeah, me too," I say. "It's that kind of day." What's out there? A handful of humans, firefighters and police mostly, have begun to roam the grounds, checking out the damage. We pass a park employee with a weapon slung over his shoulder and a net in one hand. "Trank gun," he tells a passing police officer. "We don't know what's out there." She nods. "How fast do they work?" "On something like a big cat?" He shakes his head. "Not fast enough." I look over at Ruby. "Stay close, kid." As we near the gorilla villa, what's left of it anyways, a screech hits my ears that makes the wailing police sirens sound like meowing kittens. It's Kinyani. She's frantically knuckle running back and forth near the collapsed gorilla villa. Chunks of cement, shredded wooden beams, and bent metal lie everywhere. And a cluster of female gorillas and juveniles huddle not far from some rescue workers. "There's Mama!" Kudzu cries, dashing toward a gorilla named Jody. I'm so horrified by the destruction that I've almost forgotten my muddy little charge. I really shouldn't be trusted as an ape sitter. Kudzu darts over to her mother's waiting embrace. Jody nuzzles her and strokes her and says soothing motherly gorilla things. "Thank you," Jody mouths to me. "Don't thank me," I say, looking at Ruby. "Thank this little gal. She figured out how to save Kudzu." "Thank you, Ruby, isn't it? Ivan's friend?" Ruby gives a shy nod. "We all helped." "I provided moral support," I added. "I flew, Mama," said Kudzu. "Of course you did, dear," says Jody. Kinyani's fresh wails focus my mind. "I gotta go," I say. "Ruby, you should stay here." I'm going for a no-nonsense voice, the one Julia uses on me when she calls me Robert. "Let me see what, and I'll be right back." "No way, Uncle Bob," Ruby replies just as firmly. I give up, but I'm afraid of what she might see, of what we both might see. "Any sign of Ivan?" I ask Jody. She shakes her head, a grim look clouding her eyes. With Ruby at my side, we approach the pile of wreckage that used to be the gorilla villa. At the same moment, Ruby and I gasp. There's Ivan's hand, barely poking through the rubble. Not moving. I know that hand like the back of my own paw. "No!" Ruby screams. "Uncle Ivan!" I check the crowd. No sign of Julia or George. Nothing. No Maya either, or the other workers I recognize. Just a few employees, several rescue workers, and 2 or 3 dazed-looking visitors. "Is he alive?" a firefighter asks. "Hand, whatever it's called, isn't moving," says another. Weaving my way through the tangle of legs, I climb up the rubble pile, sniff a bit, and bark my loudest, "Yes, he's alive! Get your rears in gear!" bark. Just like these overachieving rescue dogs in Man's Best Friend show. I listen for a sound from Ivan, a grunt, a cry for help. Nothing. Still, he smells alive. At least I think he does, and that's good enough for me. Zena. Another dog races over, a tough-looking German shepherd wearing impressive glow-in-the-dark vest and some booty things to protect her feet from the rubble. But I hold my ground. This is my friend we're talking about. I lick Ivan's fingers. His hands twitch. Well, that's all it takes to get both of us barking like maniacs. More people gather. I see Maya next to Ruby, which makes me feel better. "Name's Zena," says the shepherd. "Bob." I nudge Ivan's fingers with my nose. Nothing. "And this is Ivan, my best bud." "Sorry to hear it," she replies, and I don't like the sound of her voice. With great care and far too slowly for my taste, rescue workers begin removing chunks of the wreckage and tossing them to one side. Zena and me, we mostly stay out of the way, but every so often I lick Ivan's hand, just so he knows we've got him covered. I glance over at Maya and Ruby. Maya's wiping tears from her eyes while she strokes Ruby's ears. Ruby is giving Maya a comforting trunk hug. Good old Ruby, wise beyond her years, that gal. I check the crowd again. There's no sign of Julia or George. And that's when a sickening thought hits me like a bite in the belly. What if Ivan isn't the only one under the rubble? Dragon. More police cars and ambulances arrive at the park. A handful of keepers stream in too, looking frantic and confused. The weirdest thing of all, wandering through all the destruction are random park residents, animals, birds, reptiles. Residents who are most definitely not belong in Gorilla World. A police officer is chasing an armadillo. A great blue heron watches the mayhem from her position atop a giraffe statue. A wallaby pokes his nose out of a bush, his saucer eyes catching the fire engine lights. "Nets," somebody yells. "We need more nets." An older gentleman holding a blue umbrella lets out a blood-curdling scream. "Dragon," he cries. "I swear to you, I just saw a baby dragon." "Sir," the keeper says a keeper named Malik, "no worries. That's actually a Gila monster. His name is Gilligan." A paramedic raises his hand. "They have, like, venom, don't they?" "They say a healthy adult won't die from it," Malik shrugs, "although they'll be in some serious pain." "Wonderful," the paramedic mutters. I glance over my shoulder to see Sarah running toward Maya. I can't hear her words, but I can definitely see the worry in her eyes. Zena's ears tip forward. "They're getting the cutters in the jaws of life." "Jaws," I repeat. Don't like the sound of that. Spreads metal. They're probably getting close. "Come on, we need to get out of the way." "I'm not going anywhere." "I hear you," she says, and I can tell from the weary sound of her voice that she's had this conversation before. But the best thing for Ivan right now is to let humans do their thing. I think about it. Figure she's right. I give his fingers one last lick. They don't move. Nothing. Nada. We pick our way to the bottom of the debris pile. "Hang in there, Ivan," I call. "We love you, buddy." I know it's crazy, but I listen anyways, hoping for a sign, any sign, that he's still with me. With us. Hugging. I run to Kinyani. "Don't worry," I tell her. "He's gonna make it." I can tell she doesn't believe me. From there, I head over to Maya and Sarah and Ruby. Maya has a radio handset in one hand, and for some reason, a young, squirmy meerkat in the other. Sarah kneels down and hugs me tighter than any sweater she's ever knitted. "Bob," she cries, "what happened to your nose? And look at your paw." Some dogs don't like to be hugged that way. I'm one of them. But Sarah needs to do it, and I can tell somehow, so I let her. Isn't so bad, really. We will continue reading from The One and Only Bob.